All right, welcome into the Daily Fix every day right here, 12 noon. Daily Fix presented by Foolish Club Media. And I got to tell you, I'm feeling good. Feeling good, Steve. If you see there, I'm Ron Hughley, your host of the Daily Fix. In that little box where he rightfully belongs is Steve Serta. I had my smoothie I made today and my little bullet. Got me a little strawberry, a little frozen pineapple. Got me a little vanilla yogurt in there, a little vanilla protein powder in there. Got me a little smidge of honey in there as well. Got me some chia seeds. Kind of let that thing get mixed in together. Gave me a nice smoothie. I'm in a good spot, baby.
Sounds
Telling you.
good. Sounds delicious.
Delicious. It was. No rumbling from the stomach right now to report. Add a little almond milk in there as well. That it helps set it off. So yeah, I'm in a good place. Hopefully, you all listening are in a good place. First thing we'd like to do is one, you listen to us however you're taking us in. If you're listening to us on Twitter or YouTube, we appreciate you. First thing that I do want you to do is head to our YouTube channel, Foolish Club Media. Please like and subscribe. We are the fastest growing / slowest growing digital platform out there today. You can find everything you need from Beach Season, from Brian's World, which will be out tomorrow, from Show and BK, the post-game show, so many other things I'm sure I'm forgetting about. And this, the Daily Fix, every single day. You can find all of your needs on YouTube and Twitch. But please, on YouTube, on our Foolish Club Media channel, but please like and subscribe. Not going to hold you long. I think there may be, not yet, maybe an MVP, a new MVP candidate emerging. We'll get to that. And I'm telling you, don't laugh. And I'm telling you, the Chiefs staff, players, all of them, you ought to not take this for granted. We'll get to that. Something's on my heart about that. But I first want to start here with the latest news as you see it there. Give me my 2 minutes, Steve. The Chiefs are expected to designate running back Isaiah Pacheco and defensive lineman Charles Omenihu to return from IR. Charles Omenihu had torn his ACL in the AFC Championship game against Baltimore. When did Charles say he thought he was going to come back, Steve?
He said he was going to be ready for like week 1.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Chuck. And then Isaiah Pacheco, who had a fracture in the fibia week 2 against the Bengals, he is designated the return. And I have seen video footage, especially on Pacheco, him doing some drills. He was in pads, moving around, chopping the feet, looking good. And listen, this is big news, and this is just big news overall. We should start seeing this. We should start seeing Juju potentially to get back into the fold and practice. We'll see. It's November, maybe next month. Maybe towards the end of next month, we may get a chance to see Hollywood Brown return to this team. That's the thing about this team that is 9-0 and has won 15 games in a row, back-to-back championships. Not only do they add players like Josh Uche, or not only they add players like DeAndre Hopkins, but they've got some key players that are injured that are going to get better and going to add to this team to help this team. And listen, I think Charles Omenihu is a big deal and just adds more things that Spags can do with the biggest part of his team. But I think, to me, Steve, this is really Pacheco. Listen, Kareem Hunt's been a godsend. I don't know where the Chiefs would be if it weren't Kareem Hunt. But you can see, like, he just doesn't have that element of explosiveness that we know that Pacheco can bring to the table. There are many runs, Steve, where I look at it and they become 3 to 5 runs where I feel like Pacheco, granted, sometimes his vision is fishy, but granted, I look at it, I'm like, man, that could have been 10. That could have been 5 to 10 to 15 yards. That could be a big play because of how explosive he is. And I am intrigued to see, like, I don't think this is a deal that Kareem Hunt just goes to the bench and he's now getting what Clyde Edwards-Helaire had been getting over the years, or the Great White Hope. I'm intrigued to see what Andy, Nagy, and the rest of the offensive staff put together with using both of these guys in the offense. I know he had years where he had Deuce Staley and Brian Westbrook going back to his Philly years where he had two guys that were interchangeable. These guys both run the ball hard. They can both catch it out of the backfield. I think Pacheco's obviously just a bit more explosive. But this to me, this is interesting to see how these guys are used and how much better they're going to be when they get these dudes on the roster.
Yeah, I think it's massive. I think Charles Omenihu getting added back in, assuming he is 100% healthy and looks like he did last year, is going to be huge for the defensive line. But yeah, Pacheco adds that explosive element that the Chiefs haven't had, even though they've had one of the more efficient rushing attacks in the NFL. And their success rate is as high as any team in the league on that. But it's 5-yard gains like at a time. It's not.
Now it's becoming 3. Now, now you could see he's slowing up. He's getting up slower. And that was my whole thing, Steve, is I just want to make sure that they can play together because, if they can play, that's a 1-2 punch that teams aren't going to want to see in the third quarter.
Yeah. And if you can keep them both fresh down the stretch, Kareem Hunt at the goal line is probably going to be better than Isaiah Pacheco in that regard. So it is exciting for the offense because that's what they've done better than anything else so far this season.
Yeah, and to be honest, man, they've had, the great white hope in there. And Carson Steele, it's a guy that clearly, Steve, we could look at in his whole goal and mindset, 1, 2, 3, and 4 is don't fumble when he touches the ball. There ain't no running hard to get yards. It's just closing my eyes, on to this bad boy, and don't fumble. Now you got two guys that that are looking to make plays. So that's big news. I don't know you think they play in Buffalo Sunday? Because I don't. You think they play in Buffalo, or is this just the start?
I don't think either one of them will. The way the Chiefs typically manage these things is bring it along slow because they know they could probably still pull this thing off against Buffalo even without them.
Now, I do think, Steve, the interesting part is that they are practicing the first day that they can practice. So they are potentially, at least Pacheco, potentially on the field and could practice all week. That changes things. You could have seen them hold them out, and then maybe practice Friday to get them started for next week. So I think that is something interesting. They started right off the bat.
And you can run on this Bills defense. So it would be nice to have Isaiah Pacheco back.
It'd be nice. All right. Listen, I the last two primetime games in the NFL, last night, Monday Night Football between the Rams and the Dolphins, and then Sunday Night Football between the Lions and the Texans, it kind of motivated this thought. And that is, for me, teams like the team that we talk about mostly and that we're covering, and we look at the Kansas City Chiefs. I think teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers, teams like the Browns, the teams like the Eagles, teams like the Giants at times, really Green Bay falls into that, Detroit. Teams like that need to really, really, really understand the advantage they have and not take the fan support for granted. And I'm not saying that they do, but it is embarrassing. I was at the Texans-Lions game, Steve, and I've been covering the Texans for the last 4+ years. And I've never seen it before. It did not compute to me that, hey, man, you're just routinely going to have other teams that just take over your stadium. And it is just the wildest thing. I have never in my life heard or seen Arrowhead get taken over. And I don't care if the Steelers who travel a lot are going, the Raiders who travel pretty well are going. It is never when you go, we see what the Chiefs do to the Chargers. We see what the Chiefs do to the Raiders now that they're in Vegas. Just take over those pieces. The Chiefs players, front office, I'm sure they're appreciative, but it is embarrassing and insane to see how other markets, and really it's those three. It's Vegas, LA, and Houston, where just teams and fan bases routinely take it over. I said this and I tweeted this out, they had a red out for the Texans because they were wearing those all red jerseys. The whole lower bowl looked like the opposite of the election map, right? It looked like what the Democrats wanted the election map to look like at the bottom, and they just took over to a point where the field goal. I'm at an angle where I can't see where it's going in. Sort of, the field goal was kicked. Only way I know what happens is either crowd reaction or the referee puts the up or no good. I just heard an eruption, and I didn't know if it was good or not, just because I didn't know which fan base was cheering. Then he put his arms up, and you would have thought the Texans won the game. How loud it was. The Chiefs never have to deal with that. The Steelers never deal with that. The Eagles never deal with that. Like, people coming in to buy season tickets and with the plan of selling them to make their money back. Like, I'm not saying you're an issue for that, but you don't see that in Chicago. You don't see that in Indy. You don't see that. It's just wild, and they ought to appreciate the advantage they have.
Yeah, it's a credit to Chiefs fans who always show up for the team, and even though we've seen over the last few years, it hasn't necessarily led to like a crazy like home record for the Kansas City Chiefs, but this season it's showing up big. This season it seems to matter. That's why they're undefeated. So,
Steve,
Steve,
when have you ever
playoffs?
When have you ever felt like you've watched a Chiefs game or been to a Chiefs game and been like, "Damn, man, whew, boy, these Chargers fans are really here."
Yeah,
wow, these cats are really out. Like, I just never see that. So shout out to them, but that it really jumped out. I mean, them Dolphin fans, hell, I didn't know the Dolphins traveled, but they took over at times in LA, and it happens to the Chargers all the time. And the Texans, I've seen it numerous. I knew it when the Chiefs played the Texans 2 years ago, and they did the home of and that whole place sounded like Arrowhead when they said Chiefs. I knew they were in trouble. All right. I'm not saying now, and you know how this thing goes, and we know that the MVP is obviously going to involve quarterbacks, and generally is a quarterback award. And I think obviously it's not played enough games to really have an understanding of this. But I wonder if we will get to a place where we don't include Russell Wilson into the MVP race. Not now. And we'll see. He's got a huge game coming up at home against the Ravens. Let them beat them and let him be a big part like he has been since he has started in this thing. Sir, I think that we're going to be talking potentially about Russ not winning the thing, but sliding it. Because again, he's got head to head against who I think many people believe is the leader in the clubhouse right now, Lamar Jackson. If he outplays Lamar and they win again, there is going to be something. And I understand they had a good record before they were fugazi. Like, nobody believed them. The way that you and BK used to talk about the Vikings a couple of years ago, that's what they were under Justin Fields. But Steve, I have never, and maybe you disagree here, this may be a reason why you differ potentially. I have never thought that the Steelers all season were a Super Bowl contender until Russ has shown out and done what he has done lately. Now I believe that they are a Super Bowl contender, and I think it has all to do with what he has done at quarterback position and how he has changed this team and changed this offense from, hey, man, I know their defense is real good and opportunistic. If we just don't turn it over and score 17 points, we're probably going to win. That is not the case anymore. And he went up there and outplayed, I think, another guy that was a candidate in Jaden Daniels. If he outplays Daniels and Lamar 2 weeks in a row, I think it's going to start to build. So I'm not saying yet, but I think we're going to get to a point where it's not going to be a crazy thing to be saying, hey, Danger Russ and slid into this MVP conversation.
I'm nowhere near that. I think should the Steelers be taken way more seriously with him? Yes, absolutely, because he has looked more like his old self. And playing within the structure of an offense and just throwing up deep shots to George Pickens. And now they had Mike Williams, who had a long touchdown this past week. Like, yes, their defense is really good. And like, if the Chiefs, they got to play the Steelers later on this season, their left tackle situation, not great when you have a player like TJ Watt, but I don't think
their right tackle situation is.
Yeah, but I don't think that that Russell Wilson is like playing himself into the MVP race. Like, I'm not ready.
You don't know. So he's obviously he's won all the games that they've started, and he has played well in all of them. Or either played well or made multiple big time plays, especially the game on the road against Washington. If he beats Lamar, if he beats, and I mean when I say beat Lamar, and he is a prime reason why they win the game, you don't think that is a conversation that gets started?
No, because eventually he's going to have a bad game, and Lamar's got some bad losses this season, but Lamar has been absolutely out of this world.
I'm saying in the conversation, if they get to a point where they have won 4 in a row with him there, and he outplays Daniels and Lamar back-to-back weeks, he has a game at home against Mahomes again. He has another game against he's got games against Burrow and another game against Lamar. I'm telling you, I'll be the first one to be on it. And they'll say it November 11th, right here. Russell Wilson, Ron Hughley on the Daily Fix was the first one to really talk about this cat being MVP worthy. Watch. I'm not saying he's going to win it, but I bet it's going to be in the conversation. I'm and Courtney.